talk about brows. Yeah? Okay. So there's two different things that I like to do my brows with. My favorite, absolute favorite, is this brow pencil. Precisely my brow pencil. It's from Benefit. One side is a spoolie, and the other side is this extremely fine pointed little liner, okay? Love this. It makes it foolproof, super easy. The other thing you can use is, this is Aqua Brow by Makeup Forever, and it's just a brow gel. It's a colored brow gel with a little tiny pencil. Can you see that? It's super, super thin, pointed, angled brush. Those two things are the way I go. If I want a super, super dramatic brow, I use the Makeup Forever. If I want my natural, like, everyday go-to brow, I use the Precisely My Brow Pencil. Okay? So we're going to start off with this one. The first thing that you got to do is spoolie your brows. So you brush them upward and out over, okay? And you got to flow with your hair. So the front of your hair on your brow is going to go up. As so. Up. And then on the ends, you're going to want to go out. Okay? Do that on both sides. And you see the difference already? Like, the shape-wise makes a huge difference. So for this side, we're going to go up and over. My brows are a little unruly because I'm trying to reshape them a little bit. Okay, so this Precisely My Brow Pencil makes it super, super, super easy. It really does. Pull it up a little. What you're going to do is, in order to figure out where your brows need to start and end, you take your pencil and you lay it on the edge of your nostril and line it up with the end of your eye. And you see that little point right here is where my brow's going to end. Okay? Same on this side. Line it up with your eye. Here. Alright? I made my two little marks. And you can do the same thing on the end of your eye. From the nostril to the edge of your eye is where you want your brow to end. Nostril to the edge of the eye. Okay? And that's a really easy way to line them up so you know about how big your brows should be. If you do them too close together, you're going to look like you have a unibrow. If you do it too far out when you're on your tail, you're going to end up having like a droopy eye, and that's just going to mess up your whole face. Okay, so what I like to do is start in the middle. I take my brow pencil and I define the bottom of my brow. So you just start doing little tiny light-handed strokes to create a bottom. I only go to about there with that at first, okay? And you just fill in. Start going up a little bit, and you're going to do the same on the top. You're going to create a nice little line to define the top of your brow, and then start filling in. Little tiny brush strokes. The nice thing about this pencil is that it creates fine lines, so you can actually recreate hairs without making your brow look too full. You see how much better that already looks? Alright, so the tail end, I like to point my brows that kind of naturally already have that point, and it's one of my favorite brow shapes. That's the way I like them. So then I just define that a little bit. I don't really do a top or bottom. I just kind of add a little extra depth to it. Okay? Brow. Keep checking to see if you have patches. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go take this bottom line further over, and I'm going to, even lighter. I'm going to lightly, even more lightly than before, start to draw the bottom so that I have a general idea. At the end, you're going to blend that in a little bit, but for me, it makes it easier. So since I don't have a lot of brow hair here, I like to fake it. So you take your pencil and you lightly create little hairs. So you want the front of your brow to almost be like a gradient back into this definition that you've created. Okay? Boom. Brow. that's seriously it. After that, you just, like I said, go back in, add a few extra little spots. I like to define the bottom just a little bit more in the front to create a little bit more heaviness right there. And if you don't like what you did, you can brush through it, lighten it up a little bit, and just make sure everything's cohesive. That's seriously it, you guys. Super easy. But that's my best tip when it comes to brows with a pencil like this, is to go from the middle to the end and then do the front of it. Use a really light hand. It's harder to take away product than it is to add product, so you want to do it carefully. Alright, so let's go to the other side, and I'm going to do the more dramatic brow with my Makeup Forever. I really love both of these products because I have oily skin, and in California where I'm at, it's really hot most of the time in the summer, and with a combination of the oil and the sweat in the summertime, I end up having my brows kind of run and fade all over my face. But these two products are the best thing that I found for that. These will stay in place, and I don't have to worry about them bleeding or running or fading into my makeup. It stays flawless. Okay, so the Makeup Forever one, you can do it on your hand. I like to do it on my little makeup plate, which it has makeup on it right now because I just did my foundation. I like to use a little makeup plate. It makes it easier for me just because I don't have to worry about any product absorbing into my skin and actually get more use out of it. So I take my makeup plate and I do the tiniest amount. Seriously, tiny. That's about all you're going to need. If you need more, you can add more, but you may as well not waste your product, right? So what I like to do is take my little flat brush, my angled flat brush, and I smush it up. I smush it together to make sure that it's extremely fine point. You're going to dip into your product, and I dip just the edge of the brush. I get a very tiny amount. This stuff is super pigmented. Okay, so we're going to do pretty much the same exact technique as we did with the pencil. You're just going to use this little brush instead, and because it's a different product, you're going to end up with a more defined, heavy brow than you would with the other. So same concept. We're going to start in the middle and start filling in at the bottom, creating your line so you know where the bottom of your brow is going to be, and use really light pressure. Okay, so you can see I have my line. I'm going to pick up a little bit more product. Tiniest amount. I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see that, but I have little to nothing on there. So when I do the gel, I like to do the defining lines a little bit more first. I just find it easier. And I'm putting the whole flat end of the brush, the angle part, the longest end, is towards the front of my brow. And I just drag the product around the top and the bottom. Okay, see those two lines? Get a little more product, and I'm going to start filling it in a little bit. Light little strokes, just adding more color. Okay. Now once I get to this point, I usually use what's left on my brush. Because it's a different product, you're going to want to change it just a bit. Use what's left on your brush to define the bottom front part of your lash, or your brow, and give you a light line. You don't want to go too heavy with this stuff. This stuff, if you go too heavy, you're going to end up really regretting it, and it's not exactly the easiest thing to remove from your skin. Okay. Now that I did that, I'm going to do the back end of my brow. Boom. I like to connect the top. Bring it a little bit around. Tail end. You see the difference though? How much more natural this one looks already, and this one's extremely dramatic. Like, this stuff, it just lays differently, so it's a little bit darker in general in color. And it just creates more of that like fierce, heavy brow if that's what you're wanting. So I need a little bit more here, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to start filling that in a little bit. And then I just pull the rest of the product towards the bottom as I'm going to create that little bit of a end. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did before to create little tiny hairs, because I don't have a lot of hair here. I have to fake it. So for this, what I do is I take the very, very tip of my brush, I dip it into my pomade, my brow pomade, so that it's just on the end of it. And you can either do the angled end down and then go upwards, or you can do it more of a point and go downwards. It's really up to what's comfortable for you. Me personally, I like to go with the angle part down, facing downwards, and then I go up with my strokes. I just feel like I have more control that way. So I have my defining line that I made. I know where my brow's going to end, and I'm just going to start making hair strokes upward. So the thing to remember, again, start small with a tiny bit of amount of product, not a lot, and then you can add more later if you don't like how light it is. It's a lot easier, again, it's a lot easier to add more than it is to take away, especially when you already have the rest of your makeup on. And if you mess up, wipe it off, girl, and start over. It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be frustrating. I made this in too tall, so I'm just going to wipe it. Boom. Doesn't have to be frustrating. A lot of women like to go in when they're done with concealer and clean up their brows. I don't really do that. I used to when brows were really new to me and I had more trouble with them, but since I've gotten a little bit better at it, I don't feel the need to do that. But you can do it if you want to, and I can show you if you'd like. So you just create little strokes. So remember, when you're creating hair-like strokes, remember to go in the direction of the hair, the way that it grows. So the front of your brow is going to grow more upward, but as you start going over towards the end of your brow, it starts to slope this way. So you want to make sure that as you're connecting this part of your brow, the front of it to the middle, you want to make sure that you start to curve that stroke over just a little bit so that you can create a more natural line for your brow hair, and it ends up looking a lot cleaner that way. Okay? So if I were to do my brows, you know, this side, it would be extremely dramatic. That's what it would look like. If I wanted a more natural look, this is what I would go for. Alright, those are the two ways to do your brows. So let's grab some concealer and I'll show you how I would clean it up. I'm going to take my Tarte Shape Tape in the color medium, and I'm going to place a little bit onto my plate. Okay, so then you're going to want to take a flat brush. Packing brush. This one's from BH Cosmetics. I really love it. And be smart enough to not put your plate face down on your leg like I just did. So you're just going to take a little bit of that product onto your brush. And to clean them up, you're just going to go around those edges that you created. So, you know, we'll start with this one. This is a little bit too much down here, so I'm just going to lightly start carving it out a little bit. Just adding a little bit to the bottom, and then I like to blend that with my finger. A good thing about doing the concealer, which is a pro, but I do it with my makeup anyway, is it actually highlights your brow a little bit. Our concealer is generally lighter than our skin tone for 90% of us. That's how we buy it. So it's really good for adding the extra little highlight. Just make sure that when you're doing the top with your concealer that you really blend it out, otherwise you're going to look a little crazy. Okay, I don't have to do a lot, but I'll do it anyway. You just go underneath. This is a really good match for my skin tone. Let's see. And I just kind of push it out a little, blend it. Okay, that's how you would clean them up if you needed to. And that's it. It's really, really that simple. It's a lot less complicated. The more that you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. And practice makes perfect. Okay, so if you need any more information on anything that I used, or want some more extra help with it, let me know. I love you all. I hope you have a beautiful day. My beauties, bless you. See you later.